Morning. Good morning. How are you guys? My hair, my ends were a bit crispy. I at home bleached it. Ballsy, I know. But it's getting healthier. Okay, resilience, yes. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I really wanted to talk about boundaries. What is a boundary? This is something that I'm learning. And sometimes it can cause us to do even further isolation. But really what boundaries create is a spiritual awakening among itself. Because how do we honor our spirit? We acknowledge we have one. And so when we acknowledge that we have a spirit and we stand up for who we are through the spirit realm, through us being a conscious being, it creates discords within people in our lives, which then creates them to retreat. And then, it can leave us feeling isolated. But fear not, you are resilient, because that's kind of what I'm going through right now, like the one person that I wanted to understand me fully just is terrified of what I am and what I bring to the table. Wow. Investment, right? So when you call back your energy and you solidify a boundary, I don't make this up. Good news, earthly matters, solid beginnings, setting goals, developing a plan, laying a foundation, taking advantage of opportunities. Because when you call back your energy, when you stand up to yourself as a source code being and the people in your lives, no matter what happens, you're closing out a chapter, okay? Wow, and you are protected in the spirit realm, man, beautiful. So how can you show up in your reality more through, and it doesn't have to be spiritual, but how are you filling up other people's cups and nobody's filling back up your cup? How many people are going against you just for you being you? Whatever that looks like, whether it be, saying, hey, I don't like how you speak to me. And then boom, it creates a meltdown, drama, and then you get isolated. Or if somebody's repetitive behavioral patterns, whether it be family, wow, higher font. So traditional institutions, traditional values, conventional conformity, commitment, marriage, religious beliefs, knowledge sharing, social groups, education, knowledge. So when you stand up for who you are and what you believe in, despite what everybody else believes in, you call back your energy and you don't allow those projections to hover over who you are. Because that's really huge right now. Because we are manifesting our reality, and everybody comes to earth with something that they have to fulfill to draw in the community of 5D, right? And how do we do that? Well, protective, defensive, right? We have to protect who we know to be in the 5D, to bring forward that community. And yes, it can cause loss, grief, emotional instability, but endings and defeat. But when we overcome, right, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to loathe in the reality that you are so disconnected from everybody else based on who you are becoming, who you are advancing and waking up to being. So once we get over that hump, right, like if you need to process however you process, but once we do that, how do we move forward energetically? How do we utilize that energy, strong, courageous, passionate, funny? How do we call back our power after demonstrating who we are? And if it creates a vibrational rift, an energetic rift, so be it, because it's ultimately your judgment. Judgment, self-evaluation, man, awakening, renewal, composure, decisiveness, homesickness, snap judgment, apportionating blame, right? Forgiveness. Because somebody can, even if you're in your truth, right? Like, I know I'm a source being. I speak to the universe. I know who I am. I know I'm gifted. And if someone isn't willing to see me for how I see me because they are in fear of what that is, because they limit the understanding, so be it. Break the chain, because that is an energetic trap. That is an energetic projection, because if we are humans, okay, if we are humans, our DNA is 93% light and sound, meaning that we feel vibrations. Where do you think they got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth from? The World Wide Web. There are radio waves around us constantly dictating how we think and feel. But when we fine tune our craft, when we get into isolation, we start picking up how people make us feel. We then can call back our power, and we can call back our power and have clarity to what dictates how we feel. This is why isolation is crucial, and a lot of people are people pleasers. They follow a clique, and homies, don't get me wrong, I miss human interaction. But when you get to a level of awareness, which we all are, we're going to draw in the people that are meant for us. There's certain people that have been by our sides no matter what, even if they are virtual. Okay? God isolates us on purpose. God shows us people's true intentions on purpose, and we may feel like it is cruel at the time. But when you overcome the cruelty, when you overcome the victimization, because at first it is a victimization, because you feel that somebody that you trusted or you had this vision for yourself, and it's been flipped upside down. But why? So you can see who you are without those limitations. So you can get creative to what makes you happy. God rearranges our lives so we can really see what makes us happy, and so we're not comfortable. You know, as the old ways fall apart, people that aren't on the same goals, people who aren't on the same intentional wavelength as you, they're going to fall away because we're transitioning. Wow, thank you, Source. And to give you foresight, to what makes me happy? How can I alleviate pushing through all these barriers, because I choose not to see my worth in the eyes of the Most High. Okay? Because your emotions are everything. How people dictate our reality is through how they can manipulate our emotions. Period. Right? That's why there's so much division. Politics, gay rights, looks, you know, how a female should be in this reality, how a male thinks he should be in this reality. War, politics, right? It was built precisely to keep us separated and distracted. Who are you without all these connections? Wow, Wheel of Fortune. I'm going to close it here. Okay. Good luck, destiny, change, karma. Oh my gosh, bomb the deck, returning to our roots. Good luck, destiny, change, karma, soulmates, decisive moments, cycles, life, fate, fortune, upheaval. Because we all have a programming. And all that means is we all have a vision. We all have an idea of what our best life looks like. And when we can surrender to what is falling away, pull ourselves out of the rut mentally and emotionally to surrender and be like, I have faith. I have faith that everything is happening for me, not against me. Split the deck. Yeah, man. Right? And it's through that pain of separation, it's through that pain of seeing people for who they are that rises us. So be resilient, stand tall. The decisions are yours, right? Like, even if you need to stay for another cycle, so be it. But we're really getting pulled to make a break for it, to separate us from the wheat and the tares, no matter how uncomfortable that can look. Patience and trust. Much love.